Our top focus stories from Afghanistan, where the situation is alarming. Taliban are learned to have taken 10 of 34 provincial capitals. Reports indicate that Ghazni fell without a fight and the governor was given a safe passage by the Taliban. Taliban flags are also flying on the airport in Kunduz. There is trouble both in Herat and in Kandahar. The indications are that Taliban are as of now barely 150 kilometers away from the Afghan capital, Kabul. The question remains, how long will Kabul survive? Alarming reports from Afghanistan. Ghazni, Herat, Kandahar under sustained and intense Taliban attack. Amidst relentless mortar and gunfire between Afghan National Army and the Taliban, the Pakistan-backed insurgents are reported to have captured 2 more provincial capitals in the past 48 hours, amidst reports that the Taliban now are in control of 10 of 34 provincial capitals of Afghanistan. The United States Embassy in Kabul spoke of reports of Taliban executing Afghan army soldiers who had surrendered, saying the information was deeply disturbing and could constitute war crimes. Taliban on Thursday claimed to have taken control of Ghazni, a crucial city leading to Afghanistan's capital, Kabul, amidst US intelligence reports that Kabul could collapse sooner than anticipated. The governor of Ghazni surrendered to the Taliban and was permitted to leave amidst reports of war crimes by the Taliban. Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani has not only replaced the Afghan army chief, but has also reached out to ethnic Uzbek warlord Marshal Abdul Rashid Dostum and ethnic Tajik leader Ata Muhammad Noor to rally the warlords to fight against the advancing Pakistan-backed Taliban.
اینا در شمال آمدن در دام افتیدن این دفعه با امید خدا از شمال برآمدن کار آسان نیست.
Afghanistan has accused the Taliban of brutal atrocities and war crimes. Dr. Abdullah, head of the Afghan negotiations team after the Doha meeting, hit out at the Taliban, accusing them of human rights violations resulting in a humanitarian catastrophe in Afghanistan. He urged the world to prevail upon Taliban to stop the war crimes. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan deflected criticism of training, arming, funding and launching the Taliban. The situation in several provinces remains extremely tense. Hundreds of Afghan soldiers have surrendered to the Taliban in Kunduz after holding on to the airport, which is now under the control of the Taliban. Pitched battles continue in Kandahar amidst reports that the Taliban have freed several prisoners and fighters from the Kandahar prison. Afghanistan is now seeking an immediate ceasefire as the Taliban seems to be pushing towards capital Kabul. Bureau Report, India Today. So as the government of Afghanistan says, it will produce evidence of Pakistan's direct support to Taliban at the United Nations Security Council. The people of Afghanistan and the Afghan diaspora are raising the issue on social media, seeking sanctions against Pakistan for war crimes and invasion of Afghanistan through the Taliban. So for the past several days, sanctioned Pakistan has been trending on microblogging platform Twitter, and Pakistan appears worried about being exposed globally. We get you more on this report.
Importantly, the Taliban continue to enjoy a safe haven in and supply and logistic line extended to their war machine from Pakistan.
Afghanistan's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, Ghulam Isakzai, naming and shaming Pakistan at the United Nations for its support to Taliban. This is no longer being whispered in Afghanistan, but is being shouted across rooftops. And sanctioned Pakistan is the top trend on microblogging platform Twitter.
This is not a civil war, but a war of criminalized and terrorist networks fought on the back of Afghans. Importantly, the Taliban continue to enjoy a safe haven and supply and logistic line extended to their war machine from Pakistan.
Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani has also blamed Pakistan for directly supporting the Taliban offensive in Afghanistan.
Intelligence estimates indicate the influx of over 10,000 jihadi fighters from Pakistan and other places in the last month, as well as support from their affiliates in the transnational terrorist organization. Consensus among credible international observers that they've not taken any steps to sever their relationship with terrorist organizations.
Let me just say that the country...
Though Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan shot back saying Pakistan is not supporting the Taliban, there aren't many takers for his lies, either in Kabul or world capitals almost across the world.
President Ghani, let me just say that the country that is going to be most affected by turmoil in Afghanistan is Pakistan. Blame Pakistan for what is going on in Afghanistan, I feel, is extremely unfair.
However, sanctioned Pakistan has been trending on Twitter, with Afghans calling for global action against Pakistan for its support to terror. Afghan nationals fear gains made in the past 20 years since Taliban was ousted from Afghanistan, especially on women's rights and democracy, will be lost if Taliban once again controls the country. Under intense global pressure, both Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and the National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf tried to blame Afghanistan and India for the Twitter trend "Sanction Pakistan." But it's not just Afghanistan. Even Canadian diplomat and former ambassador to Afghanistan, Chris Alexander, hit out at Pakistan, saying there will be no permanent ceasefire in Afghanistan without sanctions against Pakistan. Islamabad is clearly in the line of fire. Bureau Report, India Today. What happens in Afghanistan impacts the entire region, and we have voices from Afghanistan, Pakistan and India joining me here on India First. But before I get to our guests, let's quickly cut across and listen in to the spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs. Now, Government of India has asked Indian nationals to come back to India, indicating that it's difficult to predict Afghanistan government's sustainability given the rise and movement of Taliban. The Ministry of External Affairs has also called out Pakistan for backing terrorists and extremists, saying that a terror nation now stands exposed globally.
We had here a high-level visitor a few days ago, Mutlaq bin Majid Al-Khatani, Special Envoy of the Foreign Minister of Qatar for counter-terrorism and mediation of conflict resolution. He had also extended an invitation to India to participate in a meeting in Doha today, 12th, which actually we have participating. Our Joint Secretary looking after Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iran is currently there, Mr. JP Singh. That meeting will include several important stakeholders from Afghanistan, and will also discuss further the support of the international community. This meeting is underway today. We are closely monitoring developments in this regard. We are concerned about the deteriorating security situation. Our mission in Kabul issued an advisory for Indian nationals earlier this week, advising them to return to India via commercial flights. Last year, our mission in Kabul had facilitated the return of more than 383 members of the Hindu and Sikh community in Afghanistan to India. And our embassy, our mission in Kabul, continues to remain in touch with the Afghan Hindu and Sikh community members, and we will ensure the provision of all necessary assistance to them. यही चाहेंगे कि अगर ऐसी चीज़ें हो रही हैं तो बिल्कुल बंद किया जाए. पाकिस्तान के रोल या बाहर के किसी भी कंट्री या जिस तरह से कोई नेगेटिव रोल उसमें अगर प्ले कर रहे हैं, उस पे तो हम उसको तो चर्चा कर ही रहे हैं. आई कैन से कि वर्ल्ड में सबको मालूम है कि किस तरह का रोल हो रहा है और किस तरह के कंसर्न्स उनके हैं कि पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जिहादी एलिमेंट कह लीजिए, आतंकी एलिमेंट जो उधर अफगानिस्तान में क्या कर चुके हैं. इस पे पूरी दुनिया जानती है, हमें बताने की इतना जरूरत तो नहीं है, और जैसे आपने कहा हमारे कॉन्वर्सेशंस में ये बात आती है. On the security situation, look, it is of concern. It is a rapidly evolving situation. I think a couple of you asked this question. वहाँ पे भी स्थिति जिस तरह से बदल रही है. We continue to hope that there will be an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. We are supporting all peace initiatives in Afghanistan. Our primary concern is peace and stability in that country and offering a prosperous future, independent, sovereign, democratic.
So we've seen this rising clamor in Afghanistan for sanctions against Pakistan. Will sanctions work? Can the world do anything or just watch in horror as Pakistan-backed Taliban take control of one city after the other? Joining me on India First is Ambassador Naveed Nurmal, former Afghan diplomat. Sadia Khan joins us from Pakistan. She's the leader of the opposition Pakistan Muslim League. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal joins me on the broadcast. Dr. Bahar Jalali, she's a women's rights activist in Afghanistan, currently in the United States of America. She joins me on the broadcast. And if I may, Dr. Jalali, you've been part of this campaign seeking sanctions against Pakistan. Why is that so, ma'am?
Well, I mean, we Afghans have known for decades what the world, why some people might be discovering now is Pakistan has for long harbored this grand dream of installing a pro-Pakistani, a friendly regime in Kabul in 1990s. They had they tried it with Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. When he failed to take power in Kabul, they created the Taliban. And the Taliban, as we all know, is an extremist insurgent group. They have no regard for human rights, for women's rights. And it's quite clear that without Pakistan's training, arms, funding, logistical support, and even diplomatic support, the Taliban would not be a force that would accomplish this invasion that they're carrying out in Afghanistan right now.
Okay.
And without sanctions, without tangible pressure on Pakistan, Pakistan is going to continue to support and empower the Taliban to carry out human rights violations, to deprive women of their fundamental human rights, and to disregard the national sovereignty of Afghanistan. I just want to point out to the world that the Taliban are not Afghan. The vast majority of their rank and file were born and raised in Pakistan. They are products of Pakistani madrasas, and they may have connections to Afghanistan. But, you know, when those of us who are from Afghanistan, who know Afghanistan, we do not recognize them as Afghans. They are foreign invaders. They are terrorists.
They are foreign invaders and terrorists. Strong words that you use there, ma'am. Stay with me for a moment. Is the Afghan army unwilling or unable to fight at this point of time? Ambassador Nurmal, your assessment of the situation, sir.
Thank you very much. Just a correction, my designation was not an ambassador, former diplomat. So regarding the ANDSF, their capability, definitely the withdrawal that happened over a very hasty decision by the U.S., it definitely created a vacuum that the Afghan security forces probably were not ready, or even the government of Afghanistan was not ready enough to tackle a war or a group that is being supported by external factors, as mentioned, given the financial, technical, and military support.
Okay.
But in terms of the morale and the willingness of the ANDSF, we see that they're fighting at the forefront and are ready to defend the country. But definitely there is a lack of probably coordination in the leadership of the ANDSF. And
because
also,
it's been disappointing to hear that Ghazni fell without a fight. And but if I could come back on the issue of sanctions, Ambassador Dayal, will sanctions work? Sanctions haven't worked against countries like North Korea or Iran or elsewhere. Will sanctions against Pakistan, will they even happen? And if they do, will they even work?
Well, first of all, there is no doubt that Pakistan should be sanctioned. The first speaker was absolutely correct in stating that the Taliban is a creation of Pakistan. And the Taliban are being used by the ISI to further the interests of Pakistan in a variety of ways. Now, will the Taliban be sanctioned? Here we come to the issue of realpolitik. Now, sanctions are closely related to political equations.
Yes.
And Pakistan's political equations with China are so close that China will not let Pakistan be sanctioned. There are some other question marks. Russia is also drawing increasingly closer to Pakistan. In fact, in the extended trio meeting that Russia convened, Pakistan was invited, India was not invited. That it reflects that as regards the Afghanistan situation, there are many imponderables. So therefore, while Pakistan should be sanctioned, whether it will actually be sanctioned is something that I sincerely doubt.
Okay.
Because, as
but
I said earlier,
you say
yes,
that Pakistan should be sanctioned. Sadia Khan, how does Pakistan look at this situation when not just the people in Afghanistan, but perhaps democracies across the world are seeing Pakistan as a supporter of terrorism? You've seen what Ambassador Alexander has been writing, and he's former Canadian ambassador to Afghanistan, and he's been writing about Pakistan's support to Taliban terrorists. Sadia Khan.
Listen, one thing should be very clear to everybody and every participant of this show as well. Pakistan is never a supporter of terrorism. Pakistan is a victim of terrorism. Right after war against terror, the loss Pakistan met, no other country in this region have met so far. And these hashtags which are run by India and Afghanistan just to malign image of Pakistan in front of world and media and all that, these hashtag doesn't solve diplomatic issues. You cannot malign image of Pakistan. Pakistan's stance over this issue is very clear.
Dr. Jalali, respond to Sadia Khan when she says that sanction Pakistan is a hashtag run by India and Afghanistan, and that Pakistan does not support Taliban terrorists.
It's absolutely preposterous. I have never been to India in my entire life. It just seems like typical propaganda to me. Pakistan is violating every aspect of international law. They fail to abide by a rules-based international order. You do not send terrorists to invade another country and terrorize its population, kill its civilians in horrific ways. And Taliban are now, I'm hearing they're forcing young girls in the areas that they capture to marry Taliban. That amounts to a form of ethnic cleansing, because when these girls are married off to these terrorists, it's a form of ethnic cleansing. It's an effort to change the demographics. And so for us, Afghanistan, our culture, our nation, everything we are is on the line. And, to hear this continuous duplicity from Pakistan, all of this blame game is really, really disappointing, and it doesn't solve anything. And until Pakistan owns up and takes responsibility for its support of the Taliban, the region will continue to suffer, not only Afghanistan, but the entire region. And of course, there will be spillover effect in the broader world community.
Sadia Khan, respond. You're a woman. You're seeing what the Taliban are doing in Afghanistan already, madam. Respond, Sadia Khan.
Listen, one thing is very clear. I already told you, unrest in Afghanistan is totally unrest in Pakistan. Pakistan is never supporter of terrorism in Afghanistan. You see their headquarters sits in Qatar, Doha now. So they can handle. They are holding meetings over there with Taliban. They are having meetings over there with Indian representatives, and US is over there. They are predicting that right after in Afghanistan, within 90 days, Afghan government will fall over there. So who is giving this statement? US. In this all game, Pakistan is never a participant of that. Pakistan is
but your prime minister is virtually speaking like the spokesperson.
You should be very clear.
Spokesperson of the Taliban. But let me bring in Naveed Nurmal on the point of evidence. Evidence. Naveed Nurmal, do we have evidence of Pakistan supporting Taliban, and how? Afghanistan says it will produce evidence, but what is this evidence, sir?
Look, the way Pakistan has been trying to deceive the entire world, they have unfortunately deceived their own people very smartly. And you can see that people are also turning a blind eye to the fact that the Kuwait Ashura in Pakistan, Mullah Omar was found there, Mullah Akhtar Mohammed was found there, Osama bin Laden was killed there. So there's no reason to discuss this when the entire world knows and all the evidences are basically telling you that Pakistan has been supporting this. I really feel sorry for the people of Pakistan for being deceived like this and not opening their eyes to the facts that your government is trying to kill you for the interest that they're having in the establishment.
Okay, but
why don't you have sanctions against NATO? Why don't you have sanctions against US over there? Why sanctions against Pakistan? Pakistan is already under pressure.
Taliban every day and sending it over the border, like those are not coming from the NATO countries. So definitely, like if you use the logic, there's nothing that would take you away from it. So it's very clear and it's very crystal clear there. So the Taliban are coming, the foot soldiers are being produced as disposable products that they're producing in madrasas in Pakistan. So why it's so difficult to understand what's happening, and why do you think that if you say that Pakistan is being a victim, is going to make anything different on the ground?
No, the tragedy is, Ambassador Dayal, that if there is evidence, if the world says it, and India is a victim of Pakistan state-sponsored terror, and yet the democratic free world hasn't been able to hold Pakistan's feet to fire. Why is that, sir?
Well, first of all, let me mention that as regards the evidence, Pakistan's Interior Minister, Sheikh Rashid, had said in an interview to Geo News on 29th June this year that the Taliban's families are living in Pakistan and that Taliban soldiers, when they get wounded, they are brought to Pakistani hospitals for treatment. This is one evidence which stands out very starkly because it is based on the statement of the Pakistani minister himself. There is much more evidence. After all, where are the Taliban getting the weaponry from? Where are they getting the funding from? In fact, I would even go further and say that Pakistani army regulars are fighting disguised as Taliban soldiers. There is no doubt whatsoever in anybody's mind that the link between the ISI and the Taliban is established beyond doubt.
Okay.
Now, as regards what is going to be done, without doubt, Pakistan should be sanctioned. The Pakistani speaker said a little while ago that Pakistan is in fact the victim of terrorism. Well, as you sow, so shall you reap. If Pakistan harbors terrorists, certainly sometime or the other, those terrorists will bite Pakistan, will hurt Pakistan. But Pakistan has not realized the folly of its own policies. It is my view that the world community must sanction Pakistan. But as I said earlier, the Chinese, for one thing, will prevent any such stern
Sadia Khan, before I bring in Dr. Jalali once again, respond to the fact that it's not India that's saying it as of now. India has been wanting strict action against Pakistan for long, but it's your country that is seen as the global epicenter of terror, and it's your Prime Minister, madam, who speaks like the spokesperson of Taliban.
Well, listen, one thing is very clear. You should know that I'm not a supporter of Prime Minister of Pakistan's statement. I can just tell you the stance of Pakistan right now. But one thing is very clear, and you listen carefully. India is always involving insurgency in Pakistan. Who is Mehran Wari? Just tell me. Who is Brahmdas Bukti? They are living in Delhi.
Brahmdas Bukti is not living in Delhi. That's so not true.
Who were supporting them? Their accounts were very clear that they have been getting money from India for their lavish life in Paris when they were living over there. I have seen many photos of them when they were in India. They were visiting Mr. Gandhi's samadhi over there.
So
you can Google that. You
believe a lot of rumors that you are told. But it's your country that's seen, your country is seen as the epicenter of terror. But Dr. Jalali,
always victim of terrorism.
But your country is a perpetrator of terror. But no, Dr. Jalali, as an Afghan women's rights activist, is this then the death of women's rights in Afghanistan? The rapid pace with which the Taliban is moving in.
I can say that even during the dark days of the Taliban in the late 1990s, Afghan women survived. Afghan women are very strong. There were underground schools. So Afghan women have taken a lot of brutality. Of course, the current developments are extremely alarming. I'm the founder of the first gender studies program in Afghanistan, and these are very tough days for me. But we as Afghans will never stop the fight for women's rights. The good thing is there's much more awareness about Pakistan's nefarious activities. It's a predatory neighbor. It needs to leave Afghanistan alone, and the women of Afghanistan have borne the brunt. So no, it's not the death of women's rights. Afghan women are very resilient, and we will, of course, the current developments are extremely alarming, and we also expect assistance from the international community, because we will not leave Afghan women alone ever.
Okay. Because that assistance, it's been there for the past 20 years. But Naveed Nurmal, is that assistance, has that in a way crippled the Afghan army? One would have thought 20 years of perhaps the best support, the best weapons, Afghanistan army would have been in a very strong position. It's not as if Pakistan Air Force is giving air support to the advancing Taliban. They are coming in Toyota trucks and motorcycles, and the Afghanistan army, all they need to do is position their light machine guns effectively and counter it. You have enough weapons, yet that doesn't seem to be happening. Wherever the Taliban are getting together before they move into cities, they are not being countered. There are reports that Ghazni fell without a fight this morning.
Look, I don't deny the fact that there is a problem with the leadership on the government of the Afghanistan side. But at this point of time, when we look at the legacy that the NATO and the US forces basically left in Afghanistan, is the current situation that people are dying, children are being massacred, people are displaced, the ground looks bloody at the moment. With no doubt, there is forces on the ground, but it's not only the Taliban that are coming on the motorcycles and Toyota cars. There are generals from across the border on the other side of the line, basically training them on how to move forward. So it's not only a group of people coming on motorcycles to basically defeat a province or basically take over some districts.
But is there any evidence whatsoever? Has any Pakistan army or ISI officer, as you say, or generals, as you say, of Pakistan army, has anyone been caught? Is there any evidence that you can put out in public domain that to show complicity of Pakistan army today in fighting in Afghanistan?
A couple of days ago, one of the when you look at the soldiers of Taliban being killed and sent back to Pakistan, that tells you of where they're coming from. Plus, a couple of days ago, you probably have seen it on social media that a military person from the Pakistan was basically killed inside Afghanistan and was sent to Pakistan. So there are evidences. They're documented. They're on social media. But I think this is at this point of time, it's very clear. If the world is speaking about this and they basically tell you that, yes, we all know that the problem lies in this country, then I think it's time that everybody should stand and for the peace of the world, not only Afghanistan. I tell you that if this is going to be out of control in Afghanistan, this will not only affect the region, but the entire globe.
A takeover by the Taliban will not be a local matter.
Yes. I mean, it is a very alarming situation. Incidentally, in the long run, it's going to be extremely bad even for Pakistan. But then Pakistan is a past master of shooting itself in the foot. It's done that so many times in the past. But Ambassador Dayal, is this, at least at this point of time, defeat of democratic forces and victory of radical Islamist terror, Pakistan army and the Taliban? The world just seems to be watching silently.
I wouldn't say that it's the defeat of democratic forces. It's too early in the day. Certainly the Taliban has made great advances, but if the forces of democracy were to get their act together.
How?
If the United States were to see reason, the United States, I think, has really betrayed the people of Afghanistan.
But the United States, if I may, United States was there for 20 years. How long can United States fight Afghanistan's war?
Now, true, but there should have been a settlement about power sharing in Afghanistan before the withdrawal. I think it was really putting the cart before the horse. Still, the United States has enough leverage with Pakistan. If the United States decides to sanction Pakistan, then Pakistan will not be able to take the pressure despite whatever help it may get from the Chinese, because there is no doubt that the Pakistan system relies heavily on, say, the IMF, the World Bank, and on the United States itself. But till now, unfortunately, the United States has not been showing the necessary willpower to sanction Pakistan. And since the subject of your discussion is sanction Pakistan, I would like to say that with the help from the Chinese, it's difficult to sanction Pakistan. But if the United States were to step on the side of the forces of democracy, such sanctioning could become possible.
Okay, so is this a pipe dream, Dr. Jalali, or are you hopeful that this campaign that you're also a part of for sanctions against Pakistan, it's going to lead to something tangible emerging?
I hope so, and I am hopeful. One difference that you see today from the 1990s, that there's much greater awareness about the Taliban and Pakistani support, and that's not only among Afghans and people in the region, but throughout the international community. The 20-year presence has really given people an up-close look about the Taliban support emanating from Pakistan, and I believe that the current sanctioned Pakistan hashtag has really done a great job of raising awareness. And I'm hopeful that even during this terrible time for Afghanistan, Afghans of today are much more aware of what they're up against. And they are resolved and united.
Okay, Sadia Khan wants to come in for a moment. Go on, ma'am. Sadia Khan, go on.
Yeah, it won't make any difference. To malign image of Pakistan, just a hashtag, which we have been doing in previous time to right now. It's just a hashtag. You cannot solve big matters of the world on hashtags and on Twitter or social media. It's just a trend. It's just another trend on social media. You cannot malign image of Pakistan writers, and unfortunately, all of your panel today is against Pakistan. The total anti-Pakistan panel is sitting in your show. That's why she is saying like that. But unfortunately, it won't make any difference to Pakistan, neither to Pakistan's relation to US. Yeah, of course, Pakistan will take stand on its stance, and we won't support any kind of terrorism against Pakistan and around Pakistan. That's a totally wrong image of Pakistan, which people are saying.
No, but Naveed Nurmal, there is merit in what Sadia Khan says. It will make no difference to Pakistan. Osama bin Laden was killed barely 50 meters from Pakistan Military Academy in Kabul. It made no difference to Pakistan. Perhaps what Sadia Khan is unwilling or unable to say, Pakistan is shameless and it will live through hashtags like sanction Pakistan. Naveed Nurmal.
The problem here is that she's contradicting herself. One point she says that we are a victim of terrorism, and on the other side she says that it doesn't make any sense or make any difference to them. So basically that's the logic.
Image and hashtag doesn't make any difference. Not the sanctions you are imposing on Pakistan. It won't work, unfortunately.
Okay.
The entire region.
But Naveed Nurmal, in your appreciation, how long before Kabul also falls to Taliban? Or do you see a turnaround happening in the days and weeks ahead?
Look, it's about now how we unfold the situation. It's for the world to stand with Afghanistan at the moment. We can see that a lot of, even in the regional countries and also international countries, who are basically saying that they're supporting human rights and women's rights and stuff like that. Today, nobody is talking about this. So it's basically either the world is trying to turn a blind eye and become a friend to the terrorists, like what basically the US did, like signing an agreement with the Taliban, the people that was basically the reason for them to come to Afghanistan and then withdraw from Afghanistan. So it's for the world to basically stand up in solidarity with the people, with the humanity, with Afghanistan, and stop the terrorism to take and permeate all the borders around the world.
Okay, last word, Ambassador. Yes, it is. But Ambassador Dayal, now that you have the Taliban, which is barely 150 kilometers away from Kabul, and we are hearing of one city after the other collapsing, literally collapsing like a pack of cards. Some fight put up by Kandahar, but the way Ghazni fell, or the trouble in Herat, what do you see happen over the next couple of days and weeks?
Well, certainly the Taliban are forging ahead because it is the Pakistani army regulars posing as the Taliban. Look, these are not some ragtag militants who are fighting the Afghan army. This is the Pakistan army, the well-trained, well-equipped Pakistan army which is fighting disguised as the Taliban.
Okay.
Now, as far as sanctioning Pakistan is concerned, if that is complicated, sanction the leaders of the Pakistan army, sanction the outfit which is called the ISI, the top leadership of the ISI. That should not be very difficult. That has been done in other cases. So the real mischief is stemming from the military establishment of Pakistan and the military intelligence of Pakistan, which is the ISI. So sanction them and you will see how the situation in Afghanistan would change.
Ambassador Dayal, Dr. Jalali, Naveed Nurmal and Sadia Khan, as always, many thanks for joining me here on India First. We'll be tracking the story very closely.